Why are you restless? I'm waiting for someone, Kenneth said quietly. Who? Daniel asked. Kenneth didn't reply. He just kept staring at the entrance. Then suddenly, everyone turned toward the sound of jet engines from the nearby airstrip. A private jet had just landed. In the busy city of Ayeni, there lived a man called Kenneth. He was rich, proud and loud. Everyone knew him for his love of money, cars and power. He wore fine suits, drove big cars and walked around like the ground was too dirty for his shoes. But behind all that pride, there was a pain he never stopped thinking about. His wife, Mira, had no child. Mira was calm and gentle. She was beautiful, with smooth brown skin and a kind eyes. She had married Kenneth out of love, not because of his money. For 7 long years, she stood by him, cooking, praying and hoping for a child. But every month ended in tears. Then one evening, everything broke apart. The house was quiet. Mira sat on the edge of their bed, her hands shaking. Kenneth walked in with anger written all over his face. 7 years, Mira, he shouted, throwing his car keys on the dresser. 7 years and still no child. Do you want me to die without an heir? Mira looked up, tears already in her eyes. Kenneth, I have tried. We both have. Maybe we should see another doctor. Maybe there is still hope. Kenneth laughed bitterly. Hope? I'm tired of that word. My mother calls me every day to ask why my wife cannot give me a son. My friends laugh behind my back. You have turned me into a joke. Kenneth, please, don't say that, Mira begged. We made a vow before God, for better, for worse. Don't throw it all away. Kenneth's voice grew louder. For worse? This is beyond worse. You are nothing to me now. What is a woman who cannot bear children? You eat my food, wear my clothes, and live in my house. Yet you give me nothing. You are a curse in my life. Mira's lip trembled. Please, don't call me a curse. I have prayed. I have cried. I am not happy either. I am in pain too. But Kenneth turned away, pacing angrily. Enough! I am done waiting. Tomorrow, I will speak to my lawyer. This marriage is finished. Mira gasped, as if her heart stopped beating. Divorce? After all I gave you? After I left my family for you? After all the love we shared? Kenneth turned sharply. Love doesn't give children. I need a real wife, not a woman who fills my house with silence. By tomorrow morning, I want you out of my house. Mira dropped to her knees, crying. Kenneth, please, give us more time. God can still answer. He pulled his leg away, his voice cold. God has nothing to do with this. You are the problem, and I'm tired. He picked up his phone and called his lawyers right in front of her. Yes, barrister, prepare the papers. I want the divorce done immediately. Mira froze. You already called him? You planned this? Kenneth didn't even look at her. Pack your things tonight. Her body felt weak. She walked slowly to the wardrobe, folding her clothes into a small bag. Her hands were shaking. Every dress reminded her of happier days. Kenneth stood watching, arms folded, heart hardened. When she was done, she lifted her bag and turned to him one last time. Kenneth, one day you will regret this. You will understand what you have done. He said nothing. He just looked away. With heavy steps, Mira walked out. The house that once felt warm now felt like a cage. She passed the maids who looked down, afraid to speak. She opened the big door. paused and whispered to herself, I may be living with nothing, but I will not remain broken. My God will fight for me. Then she stepped into the night with tears in her eyes, but a quiet strength growing inside her. She didn't know where she was going. She just kept walking, holding her bag close to her chest. The street lights were on, but everything still looked dark to her. Her legs were weak, her eyes were swollen from crying. Kenneth's word kept ringing in her head. You are a burden. I'm freeing myself. She passed shops, sleeping dogs, and tired women closing their stores. Nobody looked at her twice. Nobody knew that the woman walking past them had just lost her home, her husband, and her peace. Then she remembered her old friend, Josephine, who lived a few streets away. They had known each other since university. Even though they didn't talk often, Josephine's door was always open. Mira walked there slowly and knocked gently. It was already past 10 p.m. Josephine opened the door, wearing her wrapper and looking surprised. Mira, what happened? Why are you crying? Did someone die? Mira couldn't talk. She just broke down again and fell into her friend's arm. Come inside, my dear. Come in, Josephine said softly, pulling her into the small flat. She led her to a chair and closed the door behind her. Talk to me, please, Josephine begged. What happened? He threw me out, Mira whispered. Kenneth did. Josephine's eyes widened. What? Why? After all these years? Mira wiped her face with her shaking hands. He said I am a curse. He said I'm the reason we don't have children. Josephine hissed angrily. That man has no fear of God. After all your patience, did he even check himself? Mira's voice cracked. I left with only this bag. All my things are still there. Josephine touched her arm gently. Don't worry, you will sleep here tonight. Stay as long as you need. I don't have much, but this house is your home now. Mira closed her eyes and let out a long sigh. Thank you, Josephine. Come, Josephine said softly. Let me boil some water. You will bathe, eat something, then rest. Tomorrow we will talk about what next. That night, Mira couldn't sleep. Even though the bed was soft and the room was quiet, her heart kept replaying the moment Kenneth told her to leave. How he turned away, how his eyes looked cold and proud. By morning, her pillow was wet with tears. Days passed. Mira stayed in Josephine's house, trying to hide her sadness. She barely ate or spoke. Most times, she sat near the window, staring into space as if waiting for something to change. Josephine tried to cheer her up. One morning, she said, Mira, let's go to the market. A walk will help you feel better. But Mira shook her head. I don't want people to see me. What if someone asks about Kenneth? What will I say? Josephine sighed. You will say the truth, that a foolish man threw away a diamond because he wanted a stone. Mira gave a small smile, but it faded quickly. Later that week, Josephine looked at Mira seriously. Mira, have you ever gone for a real medical checkup? Mira frowned a little. What kind of checkup? A fertility test, Josephine said. Have you ever tested yourself to be sure the problem wasn't from you? Mira looked down and shook her head slowly. Kenneth said it was me. He never agreed to do any test. He said he was fine. Josephine hissed. So you just believe him? I didn't have choice, Mira said weakly. He wouldn't listen, and his mother called me names. They all blamed me. Josephine stood up firmly. Enough of that. We are going to the hospital tomorrow. Let them check you properly. You deserve to know the truth. Mira just nodded quietly. She was tired, but deep inside, she wanted answers. The next day, they went to Life Hope Medical Center, a small private hospital where Josephine knew one of the doctors. Dr. Uche, a kind man in his 40s, welcomed them warmly. How can I help you, Madam Mira? He asked gently. Josephine spoke for her. Doctor, my friend was married for 7 years with no child. Her husband left her, saying she is barren, but she had never done any test. We wanted to be sure. Dr. Uche nodded. You did the right thing coming here. We will run some tests and find out. They spent hours doing blood work, scans, and hormones tests. Mira's heart was racing. What if Kene was right? What if I truly can't have children? 2 days later, the results were ready. Mira sat before the doctor, her palms sweating. Dr. Uche smiled softly. Madam, everything looked perfectly fine. Your womb is healthy. Your hormones are normal. You can have children. Mira blinked in shock. Nothing is wrong with me? Nothing at all, the doctor said. From what I see, you are completely fine. If there was no pregnancy all these years, I advise your ex-husband to get checked. Mira covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. All this time, I wasn't the problem. Josephine jumped up. I knew it. That man lied to you. He blamed you to hide his own shame. Mira broke down, crying again. I begged God every night. I cried for years. I hated myself. I thought I was cursed. Dr. Uche smiled kindly. You were never the problem, my dear. And when you meet the right man, I'm sure you will carry your own child. Don't let the past steal your peace. They thanked him and leave. Outside the hospital, Mira sat on a bench, her hands shaking. So I suffered for nothing, she whispered. Josephine held her hand gently. Kene will regret this one day. You will see. Mira looked up at the sky. Maybe this is the beginning of my healing. From that day, Mira began to change. She started helping Josephine with her small tailoring business. She wasn't fully happy yet, but she wasn't broken anymore. She woke up early again, cooked small meals, and sometimes even laughed. One evening, she said to Josephine, I want to start a food business. I love cooking. Maybe that is how I will start again. Josephine smiled wide. That is a great idea. Let's do it together. They used Josephine's small veranda to start a food stand. Mira cooked rice, beans, moi moi and soup every morning. By 7 a.m., workers from nearby offices lined up to buy. Soon, people started calling her Madam Jollof. One customer told her, Madam, your smile is brighter than your stew. Mira laughed softly. For the first time in a long time, she felt alive again. But sometimes at night, when the street was quiet, the pain still came. Do you think he ever loved me? Mira asked one evening as she folded aprons. Josephine sighed. I think he loved himself more than anyone else. Mira nodded sadly. I just wish I didn't waste so many years. You didn't waste them, Josephine said gently. You grew stronger. One day, God will give you joy again. That night, Mira smiled for the first time in peace. A small fire of hope had started in her heart. One Sunday afternoon, Josephine came back from church with surprising news. Mira, guess what I heard? Mira looked up from the pot of soup she was stirring. What is it? I saw Kene's cousin today, Josephine said, folding her arms. He told me Kene is preparing to marry a flashy girl from Lagos. Mira froze for a moment, then said gently, Oh, Josephine frowned. He is even inviting your old friends to the wedding. He wants to show off, to prove he found a better wife. Mira looked away. He hasn't changed at all. Josephine touched her shoulder. He might even send you an invite just to mock you. Mira stirred her soup slowly. Let him do what he wants. I know who I am now. But that night, as she lay on her bed, she placed her hand on her belly and whispered, God, if you ever saw my tears, please show the world that I was never the problem. Then she smiled faintly and closed her eyes, not in pain, but in peace. The next morning, Mira stood in front of her food stand, wiping the table with a cloth. The street was alive. Children rushing to school, keke drivers honking, market women shouting prices. She wore a simple gown and a scarf tied neatly around her head. The smell of her jollof rice filled the air, and people were already queuing up. Still, deep inside her, there was a quiet war. A part of her had moved on, but another part still remembered every word Kenneth said, every moment of pain. Madam, 2 plates, please, a man's voice said. Mira turned. The man standing before her was tall, with kind eyes and a calm smile. He wore a white shirt, tucked into brown trousers, and carried a black laptop bag. Your jollof rice smelled too good to ignore, he said with a gentle laugh. Mira gave a small smile. Thank you. Spicy or normal? Spicy, he said. Very spicy. I like my food to fight back. Mira chuckled softly. She packed the 2 plates and handed them to him. How much? He asked. 2,000, she replied. He gave her a clean note and looked at her for a second. You don't talk much, he said teasingly. I just like to focus on the food, Mira replied shyly. He smiled. That is fair. My name is Gabriel. By the way, I work at the firm down the road. I will be coming often. Your rice has already stolen my heart. Mira nodded politely. Thank you, sir. She thought nothing of it. Just another customer. But Gabriel came back the next day, and the next day, and the day after that, and the next. Sometimes he bought 2 plates, sometimes just one, but each time he cracked a small joke or shared a short story. He never stayed too long, yet he always made her smile. One quiet afternoon, he stayed a little longer. Madam Mira, he said, reading her name from the sign on the stand. Do you ever rest? You have been here since morning. Mira wiped her hands on her apron. I rest when I get home. You shouldn't work this hard alone, Gabriel said gently. Do you have any help? No, she said, but I'm used to it. He was quiet for a moment, then asked softly, forgive me if I'm too forward, but are you married? Mira's heart skipped. She looked away. I was, she said quietly. Gabriel nodded slowly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. It is not your fault, Mira replied. He paused, then smiled kindly. You seem like someone with a good heart. A strong one too. I admire that. He waved and walked off. That night, Josephine noticed something. Who is that man that always comes to buy food? She asked with a playful grin. Mira tried not to smile. He's just a customer. Are you sure? Josephine teased. Because the way he looks at you. Stop it, Josephine, Mira said, rolling her eyes. But her friend only laughed. Over the next few weeks, Gabriel didn't just come for food. He brought small gifts, plantain, onions, bottled water. He said it was to support the business. And slowly, Mira began to open up. She told him how she loved cooking, how she once dreamed of owning a restaurant. One afternoon, Gabriel sat beside her stall. Mira, he said softly, I see something special in you. She looked down, unsure of what to say. I was married too, Gabriel said quietly. Years ago, my wife died in a car crash. I haven't loved anyone since, until now. Mira looked at him, eyes wide. You remind me what peace feels like, Gabriel continued. Not loud peace, but that quiet one that lives in the heart and makes you feel safe. I don't want to rush you. I just want you to know. Mira's voice was low. I'm scared. I know, he said gently. But I'm not Kene. I won't break your heart. It took months, but Mira finally said yes. First to coffee, then to dinner, then to long walks on Sunday evenings. One day, as they sat under a big tree, she asked him softly, Why me? You could have chosen anyone. Gabriel smiled. Because you are the most real person I have ever met. You were broken, but you didn't stay down. That is a kind of woman I want beside me. Tears filled Mira's eyes. She reached for his hand. Then, I want to try too. 6 months later, they got married. A quiet wedding with a few friends and family. Josephine was the happiest guest, dancing and shouting, I told you good things will still come. Mira's new life was peaceful. Gabriel made her laugh. He listened. He supported her dream, helping her turn her small stand into a real food shop. Every morning before work, he kissed her forehead and said, I love you, my queen. For the first time in years, Mira felt safe, truly safe. Then one morning, she woke up feeling strange. Her body was weak. The smell of stew made her sick. She thought it was malaria, but when it continued for 2 weeks, Daniel said softly, Let's go to the hospital. At the clinic, they ran tests. Mirabel sat on the wooden bench outside the doctor's office, biting her fingers. Her legs were shaking and her heart was beating too fast. She kept whispering to herself, God, please, please let it be something good. After what felt like forever, the nurse came out holding a white paper. She looked at Mirabel and smiled. Madam, congratulations, the nurse said softly. Mirabel blinked in confusion. Congratulations? For what? The nurse smiled again. You are pregnant. Mirabel froze. I am pregnant? She repeated in shock. Yes, madam, the nurse said. About 3 weeks. Mirabel's mouth opened, but no word came out. Her eyes filled with tears. She covered her face and began to cry. Gabriel, who had been standing by the wall, rushed to her. Wait, pregnant? Are you sure? The nurse laughed. Very sure. She is going to be a mother. Gabriel dropped to his knees beside Mira and hugged her tightly. Mirabel, you are carrying my child. Oh my God! Mirabel cried harder, holding on to him. Gabriel, I can't believe it. I can't believe this. He lifted her up, laughing through tears. You deserve this, my love. You really do. In the weeks that followed, their home became filled with joy. Gabriel started painting a small room light yellow, preparing for the baby. Josephine came around to help arrange the baby things. Their friends came visiting with smiles and gifts. Everything was peaceful until one day during a checkup. The doctor looked at the screen, then turned to them with surprise on his face. Madam, he said quietly, I'm hearing more than one heartbeat. Mirabel frowned. More than one? The doctor nodded. Yes, 3 heartbeats. Mirabel's eyes widened. 3? The nurse smiled. You are carrying triplet. Mirabel screamed in shock and joy. Triplet? Gabriel jumped up, shouting, Jesus Christ! 3 at once? God, you are wonderful. The nurse laughed as Mirabel sat up, covering her face. I can't believe this, she said between tears. God has remembered me. When the time came, Mirabel gave birth to 3 healthy baby boys. The cries of the newborn filled the hospital room. Gabriel couldn't stop smiling. He held one of them and said proudly, This one has my nose. He is mine. Mirabel wept tears of joy. God, you have wiped away my shame. You gave me more than I asked for. The news spread quickly through the neighborhood. Everyone came to see the miracle woman who gave birth to triplets after years of waiting. Some came with gifts, some with apologies, and some just came to look and whisper. But far away, Kene knew nothing. He was living his big life in the city. New cars, fine suits, expensive house. Yet, peace never stayed with him. Every night, he would sit by the window, lost in thought. He had left Mirabel because he thought she could not give him a child. Now, even with all his money, something inside him still felt empty. It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind of morning that made the world feel slow and soft. Kenneth sat on his couch, scrolling through Instagram absent-mindedly. His phone light glowed against his face as pictures flashed one after another. Then suddenly, he froze. A small baby's leg, soft, brown, wrapped in a white blanket. He blinked and scrolled down a little. Another photo appeared, tiny fingers holding a woman's thumb. Something about the picture made his heart race. He zoomed in slightly, his breath catching. The woman's hand in the photo, the skin tone, the curve of her fingers. It looked so familiar. It looked like Mirabel. No, it can't be, he whispered. He stared again. The background of the photo, the blue curtains, the soft pillow, everything seemed too familiar. But then he laughed nervously. No, 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 it is just coincidence, he said to himself. There are millions of hens like that. Still, his heart refused to rest. The thought kept coming back. What if it is really her? Before he could think too long, his phone began to ring. He looked at the screen. It was Daniel, his closest friend. Kenneth sighed and answered. Guy, wetin dey happen? Daniel's voice came through, full of excitement. Bro, there is someone you need to meet. Kenneth leaned back lazily. Who again? Daniel chuckled. Her name is Jennifer. She just came back from Lagos. Fashion designer, rich family, fine like morning sun. And guess what? She is looking for a serious man, not one of those small boys online. Kenneth laughed. You dey advertise her like car for sale. I'm serious, Daniel said. This one is different. You will like her. Kenneth sighed and rubbed his temple. Fine, fine. Set it up. 2 nights later, they met at a fancy restaurant. Jennifer walked in, tall and graceful. Her long curly hair framed her glowing face, and her nails were painted gold. Her gown shimmered under the lights. Simple, elegant, expensive. But it wasn't her beauty that caught Kenneth's attention. It was her voice. Calm, bold, confident. So you are the famous Kenneth? She said with a small smile, swelling her wine glass. And you must be Jennifer, the woman everyone is talking about, he replied with a grin. They talked for hours about business, about travel, about life. Then, almost without thinking, Kenneth brought up something personal. I have always wanted children, he said quietly. I just haven't found the right woman. Jennifer looked at him for a moment. You were married before, right? Yes, he said quickly. But she couldn't give me a child. We tried for years. Jennifer said nothing. She just nodded, her eyes soft. I'm not in a hurry, but I do want children someday. Maybe 2 or 3. Kenneth smiled. Same here. From that night, they became inseparable. People began to notice. They went to weddings together, business events, even church. Everyone whispered, Kenneth has finally moved on. He started spoiling her, new phones, dresses, even a car. One evening, while they were having dinner, Jennifer suddenly said, Let's not waste time. Kenneth looked up. What do you mean? She smiled. Marriage, let's do it. He blinked. You are serious? I'm a grown woman, he said softly. I know what I want. I don't believe in dating forever. If you love me, show me. That night, Kene couldn't sleep. He called his event planner and said, we are doing a wedding, big one. The planning began the next morning. Red carpet, Rolls Royce, live band from Ghana, guests flying in from Abuja and Dubai. Kene wanted it to be the biggest wedding in the city, not just for love, but for pride, for proof. He wanted the world to see that he had moved on, that his life was better without Mirabel. And deep down, he wanted Mirabel to see it too. The wedding plans were moving fast. Every morning, Kene met with the event planner, checking the flowers, decoration, and guest list. The wedding had to be perfect, every single detail. One afternoon, while going through the list, he paused. Add one more name, he said. The planner looked up. Who, sir? Kene picked up the pen and wrote it himself. Mirabel. The planner blinked. Your ex-wife? Kene didn't explain. He just smiled coldly. Send her the invite. First class, front seat. The planner hesitated but nodded. Okay, sir. When she left, Kene sat back and looked out the window. His heart felt heavy, but his pride was louder. She needs to see what she lost, he muttered. Meanwhile, Jennifer was busy planning her own side. Her gown was coming from Milan, pure lace, soft and shiny. Her bridesmaids were already practicing their dance. Her bridal shower was at a beach resort. To everyone, she looked like the happiest bride in the world. But behind her smile, she was worried. She had been trying to get pregnant for months. Every test came out negative. Every morning, she checked her calendar, hoping to see a miracle. She hadn't told Kene yet. She was afraid, and her mother's voice kept echoing in her head. Are you sure it is not the man that has the problem? 2 weeks before the wedding, Jennifer decided to talk. They were lying on the bed, scrolling through pictures. Kene, she said quietly, can I ask something? Sure, he said, smiling. What is it? Do you ever think about going to the hospital for a checkup? Just to be sure everything is okay with us before marriage. Kene frowned. What do you mean? I mean, she hesitated. We have been together for months. No pregnancy. Maybe we both should check, just to be safe. He sat up slowly. His face changed. So you think I'm the problem? No, she said quickly. That is not what I mean. I'm just saying. You sound just like Mirabel, Kenneth snapped. Always trying to blame me. Jennifer's eyes widened. I didn't say that. Kenneth stood up angry. Let's never talk about this again. She sat there speechless. Her heart sank. That night, while Kenneth slept peacefully beside her, Jennifer turned to the wall and cried quietly. A small fear had entered her heart. Maybe she wasn't the only one who needed to be tested. But Kenneth was busy, focusing on one thing, the wedding. He told his friends proudly, this wedding will shake the whole city. Mirabel will see that my life is better now. Daniel raised his brows. Bro, you sure it is a good idea to invite her? Kenneth smirked. I want her to come. I want her to sit in front and see me happy. Daniel shook his head. You still haven't healed, my guy. I'm fine, Kenneth said sharply. I just want her to know she lost something good. But deep down, he wasn't fine. That night before the wedding rehearsal, he sat alone in the hall. The decorations were up. Roses, chandeliers, golden chairs, everything beautiful. But Kenneth couldn't breathe. He looked around and remembered the way Mirabel used to smile when she fixed his tie, how she prayed for him every morning, how she cried the night he told her to leave. He shook his head hard. No, he whispered to himself. She was the problem. I made the right choice. Still, something in his chest felt heavy, like regret. Meanwhile, in a quiet house across town, Mirabel was bathing one of the triplets when her phone buzzed. Her friend Josephine picked it up and froze. Mirabel, she whispered. What is it? Mirabel asked, drying her baby's hair. Josephine held up the phone. It was a wedding invitation. Mirabel frowned. From who? Josephine's eyes darkened. From Kenne. The name hit Mirabel like a slap. She took the phone, stared at the gold invitation, then slowly placed it on the table. Josephine was already angry. Is he mad? How can he send you this? But Mirabel just stood still, holding her baby. Her eyes were calm. It is okay, she said softly. Let him have his wedding. You are not going, right? Josephine asked quickly. Mirabel didn't answer. She just smiled gently and walked to her room with quiet confidence. Josephine followed her. Wait, Mirabel, you are not planning anything, are you? Mirabel stopped by the window. Outside, the wind was blowing softly. Her babies were sleeping peaceful on the rug. She looked at them and said quietly, he wants me to come and feel small, but maybe it is time he sees the truth. Josephine blinked. What truth? Mirabel turned slowly. Her eyes were calm but strong. That I was never the problem. Josephine gasped. You want to go to the wedding? Mirabel nodded once. With the boys. Josephine covered her mouth. Then she laughed nervously. Ha! That man will faint. Mirabel smiled. Maybe it is time he sees what he threw away. That night, they began to plan. Mirabel went to her wardrobe and brought out a long red gown she had kept for a special day. It was sewn months ago, but she had never worn it. Josephine brought out her makeup kit and smiled. If we are doing this, we will do it well, she said. Mirabel nodded. I don't want to look loud. I want to look peaceful but powerful. Say less, Josephine grinned. You will look like God's proof. They ordered matching red short and white shirts with bow ties for the boys. Josephine called one of her rich contacts and borrowed a private jet. It would land quietly that morning and wait at the airstrip until Mirabel gave the signal. They practiced how the boys would hold her hands and walk beside her. The twins were playful, but the youngest was always calm and copied her every step. I'm not going there to fight, Mirabel reminded Josephine as they folded the clothes. I know, Josephine said, but trust me, your presence alone will shake that wedding. That night, Mirabel couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching the stars. Gabriel came and stood behind her. He placed his hands gently on her shoulders. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, he said softly. I want to, she replied. Not to prove anything to him, but to remind myself that I survived. And I'm still standing. He kissed her cheek gently. Whatever you decide, I'm with you, he said. Mirabel turned to him and smiled. Thank you. You have given me what no man could ever give me. Peace. Gabriel smiled back. And you gave me back joy. Morning came. The city buzzed with noise and excitement. Social media was filled with pictures. Hashtag Kenne and Jennifer was trending everywhere. People called it the wedding of the year. The venue was a big hall near the waterfront. Red carpet covered the entrance. Cameras flashed from all sides. Guests wore sparkling clothes and expensive sunglasses. Important people, politicians, business owners, and celebrities filled the front seat. Inside her hotel room, Jennifer stood before the mirror. Her white gown shone like eyes. Her best friend adjusted her veil. You look stunning. Kenne will fall in love all over again. Jennifer smiled weakly. I hope so. But inside her heart, she carried fear. No pregnancy, no answers, and a man who refused to get tested. At the hall, Kenneth stood at the altar, dressed in a white agbada with gold designs. His shoes shone like mirrors. He kept checking his watch. Daniel walked up to him. Bro, why are you restless? I'm waiting for someone, Kenneth said quietly. Who? Daniel asked. Kenneth didn't reply. He just kept staring at the entrance. Then suddenly, everyone turned toward the sound of jet engines from the nearby airstrip. A private jet had just landed. The door opened slowly and the stairs unfolded. Out stepped Mirabel. She wore the red gown like a queen, flowing, elegant and bold. Her face was calm, her steps confident. Beside her walked three small boys, dressed in matching white shirt and red shorts with bow ties. The hall went completely silent. People gasped. Phone came out. Who is that? Someone whispered. Wait, is that his ex-wife? Another said. She has children, a woman added. The whisper spread quickly. Kenneth froze. He grabbed Daniel's hand. Tell me I'm dreaming. Daniel blinked. Bro, she had children. Kenneth's mouth went dry. His heart started to pound. Mirabel walked slowly, gracefully, holding her son's hands. Her eyes met his, but she didn't look away. She smiled softly, calm, peaceful. The crowd moved aside as she walked to her seat. The very front row seat Kenneth has reserved for her, never thinking she would actually come. She sat down quietly. Her boys climbed onto her lap and whispered, Mommy, we made it. She nodded, smiling as she kissed their heads. Moments later, Jennifer entered the hall with her veil covering her face. She noticed the silence. She noticed the faces. Then she saw Kenneth standing stiff, his eyes wide open, staring straight ahead. She reached the altar and whispered, What is going on? Kenneth didn't reply. The pastor cleared his throat. Shall we begin? But Kenneth wasn't listening. His eyes were still fixed on Mirabel and the children. At her seat, Josephine whispered, Do you want to leave now? Mirabel shook her head. No, we will stay till the end. Her voice was calm. Her heart was at peace. He wasn't there to destroy anything. She was there to be seen, to show that she was not the problem. The once loud hall had gone silent. The music had stopped. The laughter was gone. Some girls held their phones mid-air. Others whispered behind fans, while some simply stared at the woman who walked in like the wind had changed direction. Mirabel sat at the front, exactly where Kenneth had planned for her to sit, but not the way he imagined. She wasn't crying. She wasn't bitter. She sat with calm pride, glowing in red like a rising flame. Her boys sat beside her, playing quietly. One held a toy car, the other whispered to each other and smiled. That is Mirabel, a woman in green lace whispered behind her fan. She had children, a man beside her asked. They look like her, but not like him. Someone else said. Let's see how it ends. Another ended. At the altar, the pastor cleared his throat again. Shall we begin the ceremony? Kenneth stood beside Jennifer but wasn't hearing anything. Jennifer leaned closer and whispered, Who is that woman with those boys? Kenneth blinked. That is Mirabel. Your ex-wife? He nodded slowly. And those children? Kenneth said nothing. Jennifer's eyes widened. You told me she was barren. I thought she was, Kenneth stammered. You thought? Jennifer's voice rose. You said she couldn't have children. You said that is why you left her. I believe it. That is what the doctors. What doctors? She snapped. You never showed me any result. You refused to get tested yourself. Kene rubbed his head, sweating under the light. Jennifer, please, can we talk after this? No, she said firmly. We will talk now because everyone is watching. She turned to Mirabel. Please, forgive me for asking this, but are those boys your children? Mirabel stood up slowly. She carried her youngest in her arms. Yes, she said clearly. They are my sons. The hall went quiet again. She looked at Kene, her voice calm but firm. You called me barren, Kene. You threw me out and watched me cry. You said I was coarse. You made me feel less than a woman, but I wasn't the problem. The crowd gasped softly. You never agreed to be tested, she continued. You said it was always me, but God showed the truth, and he gave me not one child, but three. Kenneth stood frozen. His lips trembled. Jennifer turned to him slowly. So you lied. You ruined her name. You destroyed her. And all this time, it was you? I didn't know, Kenneth whispered. I didn't mean to. You didn't care, Jennifer cut in sharply. You just wanted someone to blame. She took a step back from him, shaking her head. I can't marry you, Kenneth, she said, her voice breaking. Not today, not ever. The crowd gasped again. The pastor quietly stepped back. The music stopped. The wedding was over, and Mirabel just sat there, peaceful, shining. The woman they once called barren, now living proof that God still writes better stories than people's lies. The choir sat down. The camera lights dimmed. Kenneth tried to reach for Jennifer's hand. Jennifer, please, don't do this here, he whispered. He looked at him one last time, her eyes filled with pain. You are not ready for love, she said quietly. You are still stuck in your pride. I deserve better. She dropped her bouquet on the stage and walked out of the hall. Her bridesmaid rushed after her. Kenneth stood frozen, eyes wide, breathing hard. The room spun. Guests began whispering loudly. That man is barren, one woman muttered. So it was all his fault all along, another added. And he wanted to disgrace her. Imagine. Kenneth's knee felt weak. His heart pounded. Mirabel stood up quietly from her seat and began walking out of the hall too. Her three boys followed beside her. She didn't look back. She didn't shout. She didn't gloat. She walked like a queen. Calm, graceful, with truth wrapped around her like a royal robe. Josephine met her at the door. Mirabel, you did it. You showed them the truth, Josephine said, smiling through tears. Mirabel shook her head gently. I didn't do it to prove anything. I just came to be seen. They stepped toward the private jet waiting nearby. The door opened smoothly and the bright daylight reflected off the red gown that hugged Mirabel perfectly. The pilot stood at attention as the boys climbed in beside her. Josephine followed behind, glancing once more at the crowd staring from afar. Inside the jet, Mirabel heard her boys close. Are you okay, Mommy? One of them asked. She smiled warmly. Yes, my love, I'm more than okay. Back at the wedding hall, Kenneth sat alone on the stage. His white agbada looked too big now. His crown felt too heavy. The drink were still cold, the food untouched, but the joy was gone. Daniel, his best man, walked up slowly. Bro, what now? He asked quietly. Kenneth didn't reply. He just stared at the door Jennifer had run through, the same door his light had opened. For the first time in his life, he felt truly alone. He sat on the edge of the stage, eyes empty. The once lively hall was now silent. Even the waiters packed trays quietly. He rubbed his face, whispering, what just happened? How did everything fall apart in one day? Daniel came and sat beside him, looking tired and disappointed. Kenneth, he said softly. Kenneth didn't answer. Daniel sighed. You didn't see that coming, did you? Still no reply. Daniel continued. She came with triplets, bro. Triplets, and the whole world was there to see it. Kenneth's head dropped into his hands. I planned that wedding for months, he muttered. I know, Daniel replied. You invited her to sit there and watch you move on. Kenneth's voice cracked. She came not broken, not bitter, but with 3 sons. Daniel nodded. Yeah, and now everyone knows the truth. Kenneth swallowed hard. How is that possible? She never got pregnant when we were together. Daniel looked at him seriously. Did you ever get tested? Kenneth froze. I didn't need to. She was the one without a child. Daniel turned sharply. Says who? You? Your mother? Gossip? You just assumed. Kenneth's eyes filled with tears. She never argued. She accepted it. Because she loved you, Daniel said quietly. She was loyal. She didn't want to fight. Kenneth covered his face with both hands. She begged me not to leave. She said we could still try. I called her curse. I told her to get out. Daniel sighed deeply. Now the truth is staring you in the face, and the whole world saw it. Outside, cameras flashed. Social media was already exploding. Videos from the wedding spread fast. Mirabel steps out of a private jet in a red gown with triplets. Jennifer walks out of her own wedding. Hashtag Mirabel's returns. Hashtag triplet at the wedding. Hashtag Kenneth exposed. Some comments mocked him. Some were angry. But one thing was clear. Kenneth was trending for the wrong reason. That night, back at Mirabel's house, Josephine sat on the couch scrolling through her phone. Listen to this one, she said, laughing softly. This woman is a true queen. She didn't shout. She didn't fight. She just showed up with God's answers. Mirabel smiled gently as she felt the boys. I didn't do it for the world to clap. I just wanted him to see. Josephine looked up. Well, now he has seen, and not just him, everybody. Mirabel lifted one of her sons onto her lap and asked softly, Do you think he feels anything? Oh, he feels it, Jennifer said. Pride doesn't protect anyone from disgrace. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Mirabel turned. Who could that be? Josephine stood up. Let me check. She opened the door and froze. Her eyes widened. Kenneth, she whispered. Mirabel turned slowly, placing the baby in the walker. Kenneth walked in. He looked nothing like the man from the wedding. His shirt was untucked, his eyes red, his lips dry. He held his cap in his hands like a schoolboy about to beg for forgiveness. Mirabel, he said softly. She didn't answer. He looked around and saw the children playing. One of them looked up and smiled. Hi, Uncle. Kenneth's chest tightened. I didn't come to cause trouble, he said quietly. I just needed to see you, to say something. Mirabel folded her arms, her face calm. I ruined everything, Kenneth said, eyes on the floor. I judged you wrongly. I insulted you. I let pride blind me. Silence filled the room. He took one step closer. I believe I was right. I told the world you were barren. I didn't even test myself. I just assumed. Mirabel finally spoke. And that assumption destroyed our marriage. Kenneth nodded slowly. I know. I see it now. I was foolish. I let ego control me. I didn't protect you. I shamed you. Her voice was steady. You didn't just shame me, Kenneth. You crushed me. You made me feel worthless. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I'm sorry, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I had to come. I was wrong. I hurt the only woman who ever truly loved me. Mirabel looked at him quietly, tears glistening in her own eyes. He continued softly, I saw the way you walked into that wedding. Peaceful, strong. You didn't shout. You didn't curse. You just let the truth speak. You are a great mother. He bowed his head. I'm sorry. The room stayed silent for a few seconds. Mirabel took a deep breath. Stand up, she said gently. He looked up slowly. You are not angry? She shook her head. I was angry for years, but now I'm free. Kenneth stood up slowly. Thank you for listening. You should get tested, she added. Not for me, for your future. He nodded. I already did this morning. Mirabel raised her brow, and he looked ashamed. The doctor confirmed it. I'm the one with the issue. Low sperm count, possibly from an infection I ignored years ago. Mirabel blinked. So all those years? Yes, he said quietly. It was me. There was a long pause. Then Mirabel spoke softly but firmly. I don't hate you. I have moved on. God gave me a second chance. Kenne nodded slowly. I know, and you deserve everything good. I'm glad you are happy. He turned to leave. Kenne, she called. He stopped. I forgive you, she said simply. His shoulders dropped with relief. Thank you. He walked out silently, closing the door behind him. Josephine came beside Mirabel and whispered, You are stronger than I will ever be. Mirabel gave a faint smile. I'm not strong, Josephine. I just healed. The next morning, Kenne woke up to another storm. His company has taken a hit. Some investors had quietly pulled out. He had hundreds of messages waiting from family, from staff, from bloggers. But the one that broke him the most was a message from Jennifer. Don't try to call me. I have gone back to Lagos. Find peace within yourself. I hope you finally learn. He sat on the edge of his bed, phone trembling in his hand. Everything he had built, gone. But strangely, his chest felt lighter. Maybe this was what it meant to be truly humbled. Meanwhile, at Mirabel's home, peace flowed like calm water. Gabriel had returned from his business trip and hugged her tightly the moment he stepped in. I saw the clips online, he said softly. You walked in like a lioness. Mirabel chuckled. It wasn't easy, Gabriel smiled. I'm proud of you, but more than that, I'm happy you stood up for yourself. She looked at her three boys sleeping on the floor, their small chests rising and falling in peace. They don't understand what happened, she said quietly, but one day they will, and I will tell them everything, the full story. Gabriel nodded, and I will be right beside you when you do. They stood together in that quiet living room, hand in hand. No bitterness, no anger, just peace. 1 month passed since the wedding that never happened. The video clips were still all over social media. The headlines refused to die down. Everyone has moved on, except Kenne. He was no longer the admired man everyone respected. He no longer walked into boardrooms like a king. He didn't laugh with his workers or crack jokes like before. His office felt cold, quiet, empty. Some staff has resigned. Others stayed but whispered when he passed. No one looked him straight in the eye anymore. But the worst part, he had lost himself. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. He replayed everything over and over in his mind. Mirabel's calm walk into the wedding, the three boys, Jennifer dropping her bouquet and walking out, and the bitter truth that followed. He was the one with the problem all along. He sat at his desk, staring at the fertility test result. Low sperm count, low motility. Patient advised to begin treatment immediately. The words hit him like stones. Years of pride, years of blame, years of tears he caused. His phone buzzed again. Another blog post. Former business tycoon faces downfall after ex-wife shocking wedding appearance. He dropped the phone and buried his face in his palms. Just then, the office door opened slowly. His mother stepped in, her eyes tired, her voice weak. She had seen everything online too. "Kene," she said softly, sitting across from him. "I came to talk." He nodded, not looking up. "I know what you will say, Mama." She sighed. "You were wrong. We were both wrong." Kene lifted his eyes slowly. "I pushed you," she continued. "I told you Mirabel was the problem. I told you to marry Jennifer, but I never once asked if we were fair." Kenneth swallowed hard. "Mama, you helped me chase her out." "I know," she whispered, her voice shaking, "and I will never forgive myself for that." Silence filled the office. You could almost hear the ticking clock. "Have you spoken to her again?" she asked. "I went to see her," Kenneth said softly. "She forgave me." His mother blinked back tears. "She always had a big heart, even after everything." "She is not coming back," Kenneth added. "She is happy now. She has a real family." His mother lowered her head. "God gave her beauty for ashes," she whispered, "and we destroy something pure." Kenneth said nothing. He just looked down at his palms, empty now. His crown was gone. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Mirabel was in the kitchen, stirring okra soup while humming quietly. Her boys were watching cartoons, their laughter echoing through the house. Gabriel was fixing the kitchen tap. "Babe," Gabriel called out, holding a wrench. "Remind me again, do we still have crayfish?" Mirabel smiled. "Yes, in the blue container, second shelf." Gabriel laughed. "You have arranged this kitchen like a science lab." They both chuckled. That laughter, it was the sound of peace. Later that night, as they sat down to eat, one of the triplets looked up and said, "Mommy, when we grow up, we will also be famous like you." Mirabel laughed. "Who said I'm famous?" "The people on the internet," the second boy said, licking soup from his fingers. "They were shouting your name." Mirabel smiled and looked at Gabriel. "You will grow up knowing your story," she told them softly. "But more than that, you will grow up knowing your worth." Gabriel nodded. "And knowing how strong your mother is." A few days later, Josephine came into Mirabel's restaurant with a letter in her hand. "It is for you," she said, handing it over. Mirabel opened it carefully. It was short, typed and signed at the bottom. "Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your forgiveness. You taught me a lesson I will never forget. I lost a good woman, and I hope one day your sons will know how proud they should be. I wish you peace, Kene." She folded the letter gently and placed it in her drawer. No tears, no anger, just peace. Back in Kenneth's compound, things were not the same. His neighbors no longer looked at him with admiration. Some pitied him, some laughed behind his back. The gardener didn't greet him cheerfully anymore. The security man no longer rushed to open the gate. He had become the disgraced groom. One evening, Kenneth stood before his mirror and stared at his reflection. "Who are you now?" he whispered. "What did your pride gain you?" No answer, just the silence of a man who finally saw himself. He looked at the window and said quietly, "I destroyed the woman who loved me, and now I'm alone." But far away, the woman he once broke was whole again. She had found joy, she had found love, she had found purpose, and she had three beautiful reminders that what others once called barrenness, God has turned into overflow.